Did Rockstar Games finally fix this mess of a remaster? Well, I have a series in which I find various different problems and I showcase them. Video number 4 focused purely on terrain problems. 101 problems to be exact. How many of them were fixed and how many got worse? Let's find out right now, and I can assure you, you won't like the answer. Let's begin with a stunt jump in GTA 3. Previously Claude used to levitate here because there was an invisible sand underneath him. Well, here's Claude walking on the actual sand after the patch. No floatiness anymore. At the tire junkyard place in Vice City, you notice how in the previous patch Tommy would sink into the tire pile. It's like they were mud or something and not solid objects. Well, they are solid now, you don't sink in and all is good. Here's the craziest problem from the original 404 video. This fence was hella broken. It was pure black, stuff like trees, bushes and stairs were poking through it. You could not see the other side, it was a nightmare. Well, here it is after the patch. It looks just like it did in the original. Normal! How did it break before? I have no idea, but it looks awesome now. Back to Vice City, in Little Haiti there should be something here. A fence was lost but its spirit remained because its collision box was here with us. Tommy could walk alongside it, not being able to pass the invisible force field. Well, here it is again. It got a new paint job from the OG, you can see through it again, but it's an actual object now as it should be. The neon lights at the Four Dragons Casino used to act in a very weird way. From a distance they were fine, getting close though revealed how only one massive light shines and the rest just doesn't. The light was floating in the air as well, making it stand out and be unnatural. After newest patch all the lights are normal looking and getting close does not reveal any weirdness. I guess the only weird thing is how the lights are still on even at daytime despite not being on in the OG, but whatever, it's still a fix. We had some crazy railings here in Shoreside Vale. One had a pretty standard problem here, since you can just walk through it. This happens with many fences and railings here in the Defective Edition, so nothing too crazy. And of course this was fixed after the patch. The ultra crazy railing is this one, where touching it results in some hilarious moments where it could start bouncing around and it turns into a party fence. It only stopped when it got lost or it got consumed by the ground. Well, these railings are now boring and serve the purpose of actual railings. Don't get me wrong, this is a fix and I welcome it. Rest in peace, party railing. In this tiny shack in the countryside, none of the new Definitive Edition items had any collision. They made the place look nice, sure, but you could just walk through every single one. Well, here we are after the patch and every single item actually has collision. Woo! In Vice City you could walk onto the ship in front by using an invisible plank. Apparently the collision for the plank next to us was moved a few meters. So walking on the actual plank meant you fall down in the water, but walking here in the air was fine. Well, now since the plank is fixed, this invisible one is also gone. As you can see, I'm shooting the water and the ship. A plank is not stopping my bullets, and I guess I'm gonna make a better test. Yep, nothing here. Alright, here's something I would call a downgrade and not a fix. So previously in the Defective Edition we had a very fat tree poking through a fence. This is bad, right? It should not do that. So how do we fix it? Make it smaller? Don't be silly, let's just remove the tree entirely. Yep, that's right, this was a solution apparently, removing vegetation which makes the world feel less populated. This tree was in the OG even, and it looked normal. Ugh, shame. There used to be a tree here in Los Santos. This tree got fat in the Defective Edition while also floating. And of course, instead of making it normal, it was completely removed. Great. In Shoreside Vale next to this rock, simply walking by this broken mountain could make you get stuck in the ground. Claude sank into a hole he can't see and he got consumed by the Defective Edition demons. After the patch this mountain still looks broken since some of its texture makes no sense, but hey, at least the hole is not here anymore, awesome. Here in the desert we had a big ass hole. Only problem was it was invisible and you could see all the junk above you like floating cars, planes, pedestrians and so on. This hole was patched up and you can no longer go underground. Are you guys ready for another downgrade disguised as a fix? In the original we had these tiny trees close to the street. They hurt nobody and didn't inconvenience traffic since they did not touch the street. In the defective edition they became fat, so they took over a bit of the street. Well, here's the patch. They are tiny again. Whoa, awesome, right? Why is this bad? Well, because they aren't actually tiny. The texture is. They're still fat. This is actually even worse, since now you cannot see what you're crashing onto, since part of the tree is invisible. Look at this for instance, more than half of this ramp is now unusable. This sucks. Tommy could hide here in the tall grass, which should not even be tall grass, but he did. This is how the grass should look like. Tommy can now walk on it like he's supposed to. On top of Mount Chiliad, CJ could sink into the solid rock. This was even a very high traffic area since we have side missions here and there's a ramp nearly every single person who has played this game has taken at least once. Stumbling upon this glitch was inevitable. Well, apparently Rockstar also found this glitch and they fixed it. CJ will not sink anymore. At the Van Hoff Hotel, if you try exiting out, your camera would position itself behind some coat hangers. On the left you could also see some weird stuff. While the coat hangers are still there, the camera is positioned closer to the characters so you cannot see them, making this a normal camera angle. It's even better than the OG, since there you can see the weird stuff on the left. But after the patch in the definitive you cannot. Awesome. Alright, this may sound insane to some of you, especially the people who have not seen the original video, but a huge portion of the Las Venturas airport was broken. CJ was walking in the ground for most of it. I could also not believe this the first time I saw it. This again is a very high traffic area. Well, it was fixed in the newest patch and I was gonna go crazy if it didn't get a fix, but it did, so I'm happy. Here's a weird one. This trash bin looked like it existed, but it didn't. You could just walk into it. Well, it does exist now, but so does a second invisible one next to it. Yeah, I don't even know what to say. This just got worse. Wonderful. And the last fix involves every single light pole at the off-road track in Vice City. None of these had a collision, so Tommy could just walk into them. As you guessed it, this was fixed and they are solid objects again. So what does this mean, guys? It means that out of 101 terrain problems, only 19 of them were addressed, 3 of which I would consider worse off as a result. So it's 19 fixes technically, but I would call it 16 really. That's a very low number. We have one more video to go through. Let's see how that one does next time. For now, thank you so much for watching, and a special thank you to Ola Velikanen, Keizna, Sean Pasca, Faith, Munish Puri, Pahishsash, Chishinte, Bad Boy Hero, Jebediah, Redux, Verseti Gwen, Jim Francescos, and everybody else.